Not-for-profit is one of the most complex verticals from the CRM perspective. So, which are the top 10 not-for-profit CRMs in 2024? That's what we are going to discuss in this video. So, let's dive in.
Growing a business requires a holistic approach that extends beyond sales and marketing. This approach needs alignment among people, processes, and technologies. So if you're a business owner, operations, or finance leader looking to learn growth strategies from your peers and competitors, you're tuned into the right podcast. Welcome to the WBS Podcast, where scalable growth using business systems is our number one priority. Now, here is your host, Sam Gupta.
Hello, everyone. My name is Sam Gupta. I am principal at Elevate IQ. Elevate IQ is the independent CRM, ERP, and digital transformation consulting firm. We help our clients with digital transformation strategy, CRM selection, implementation, and change management. On that note, let's go back to today's topic, which is going to be top 10 non-profit CRMs in 2024. Overall, the way we defined our not-for-profit CRM, this is going to be all of the industries that are going to be part of the not-for-profit bucket. Whether you are looking at any of the associations, education institute, healthcare institute, religious org, all of those are going to be part of the not-for-profit business model, as well as we cover companies of all sizes, organizations of all sizes as part of this list. So the criteria that we use to compile this list is product share, acquisition strategy focused on not-for-profit vertical. So if a company is going to be focused on acquiring a lot of capabilities from the not-for-profit perspective, then they generally rank higher on our list. The product roadmap, community, ecosystem, win rate, where exactly are they winning? Are they winning in the not-for-profit market segment or the other industry segment? If they win a lot more in the not-for-profit market segment, they generally rank higher on this list. The technology strategy, as well as the investors. So these are some of the factors that we consider as for in compiling this list. So now let's look at the list. Number 10 on our list is Neon CRM. And in general, the way the not-for-profit CRMs are structured, you are going to have very prescriptive CRMs where you are going to have a lot more capabilities pre-baked as part of your not-for-profit workflows, but they are also going to be fairly restrictive depending upon how your business model is. So let's say if you have pure play business model from the not-for-profit perspective, the only thing you are doing is really the fundraising, maybe volunteer management, etc., then these prescriptive CRMs could be a great fit. But if you are going to be slightly off from there, for example, let's say if you are a not-for-profit that also does a little bit of facility management, or you might have citizen management, etc. So all of those capabilities might be trickier to be able to incorporate as part of these smaller CRMs or the prescriptive CRMs. They are good for those specific use cases for the industry, specific use cases from the not-for-profit perspective. So Neon CRM would fall under that. In general, with these prescriptive CRMs, your budget is not going to be, you don't require as much implementation budget because all of these workflows don't need to be built from scratch. They are going to be all of those business objects that you are going to require. For example, the grant fund, etc., the whole move management, they are going to be incorporated as part of your the workflow itself. You will be able to see it. They'll be able to demo it. But if you are looking at slightly more vanilla CRM, then you would require a lot more consulting expertise to be able to enable those workflows on top of the core CRM platforms. So here, Neon CRM is going to be that prescriptive category. They are designed for the smaller not-for-profit, primarily focused on fundraising. So if you are pure play not-for-profit, focused on fundraising, this could be a great option. The strengths that you're looking at is your built-in fundraising as well as the event registration and event capability. Sometimes, some of the not-for-profit, they are very thick in that event workflow as well. They not only require the whole registration process, they need to track all of those visitors. They need to manage the schedule as well. They need to be able to schedule those events. Sometimes they are working with many different vendors and they need to collaborate all of that process. Generally, the scope of CRM is not necessarily to be able to to capture all of those operational workflows. For the most part, the role of CRM is going to be to capture all of the interactions from the customer experience perspective. But at least from the workflow automation perspective, you are probably going to require some of the capabilities that need to be integrated with your website, so that when people are going to register for your events, then they will be able to do that using the forms. So you are going to have all of those capabilities built as part of your Neon CRM. Then you also have the membership management, and membership management could have very thick workflow as well in general. And on vanilla CRM, implementing configuring that could be a major challenge in general. So Neon CRM is going to have all of those capabilities. And then you are going to have the volunteer scheduling, and volunteer is going to have a very different representation overall from the business object perspective. These are not going to be the other business objects. For example, let's say if you have any of the foundations or constituents that you are building as part of your CRM workflows. So volunteer is going to have very different data hierarchies as well as the workflows. So you are probably going to require building that. Let's say if you are enabling that as part of the vanilla CRM platforms. The limitations that you're looking at from the Neon CRM perspective is the reporting capabilities are going to be fairly light. Even though if they claim that they have a lot of reporting capabilities, the pre-baked reports, you are not going to have as many in general. So you are looking at building those, and that is going to drive your implementation consulting budget. But sometimes you might not even have those data layers in the appropriate hierarchy. So you might not even get the reports. So that's probably going to be a big limitation for Neon CRM. The customizability, the platform is not going to be customizable. So if you are not seeing some of those capabilities in the CRM, enabling those could be a major challenge, even though they are going to argue that you have APIs, you have low code no code workflows, and you should be able to enable those. But in general, you are talking to salespeople and they don't necessarily understand the kind of capabilities that you are going to require if you are going to have any sort of customizable business object or customizable workflows. So again, talk to a qualified consultant who has a little bit of implementation experience to be able to understand the challenges that you are going to run into in enabling those workflows that are going to be slightly off from your traditional not-for-profit processes. And the scalability is going to be a challenge. So if you have many different processes from the customer experience touch point perspective, and you are trying to accommodate all of those as part of the CRM, then you are probably going to run into challenges, and you probably would require using multiple CRMs. So then you are looking at very disconnected data state if you end up using that. So that's number 10. Now, number 9 on our list is Blackboard, Razor's Edge, Next Platform, or Blackboard CRM. These two are two completely different products from Blackboard. They are positioned for different market segments. And since this list is for companies of all sizes, so most likely when you are going to be small, you are probably going to look for Razor's Edge. And if you are going to be slightly larger, then you are probably looking at Blackboard CRM. So pay attention to that, because each product is going to have very different support model. Each product is going to have very different capabilities. They are going to have very different data model in general. So again, each product, even from the same vendor, could be substantially different overall from the capabilities perspective. So always pay attention to that, which product, which version you are looking at. In this particular case, this is going to be two different products. So you might want to assess this for your market segment in terms of which one you are going to need. Sometimes salespeople might not differentiate between different versions or different products just because they are trying to simplify the positioning. But overall, these products matter, and depending upon which product you are going to use is going to dictate whether you are going to find whatever business capabilities that you are looking at from your CRM perspective. The other strength that you're looking at from the either Razor's Edge or Blackboard CRM perspective is that you are going to have very strong fundraising capabilities. Events and membership capabilities are going to be there. In general, Blackboard has far deeper capabilities as part of their suite. So if you're looking for suite-centric capabilities, from one vendor, you might be able to get that from Blackboard. But again, Blackboard acquired these products over the period of time, so they might not be as immersive as you are going to find with some of the other products that may have built these as part of their capabilities. So even though you are getting these products from the same vendor, the integration may be on a lighter side. You might have very patchy experience in using those. So those are some of the things that you need to keep in mind. The final strength that we have from the Blackboard perspective is that they are integrated with Microsoft Power Platform, and which could enable you to create all of those marketing automation workflows, the workflow automation capabilities from the Microsoft Power Platform perspective. So that's a huge plus for your Blackboard system. The limitations that you're looking at from Blackboard perspective is not great for volunteer management. They don't have those capabilities, and enabling those is probably going to be trickier because again, even Blackboard is not as customizable. It's a very prescriptive system in general. The technology and the cloud native features. So one of the things that you might want to note is they were very legacy vendor. They were very proven, very well penetrated in the not-for-profit space, but their cloud capabilities are not as mature. At this point of time, they are still catching up to the other vendors that may have started as the cloud native platform. So they are not there yet. That could be a challenge. So all of those features from the cloud native perspective, for example, let's say if you look for enterprise search, they are going to be fairly limited. The mobility capabilities, they are going to be fairly limited as well. In general, you might end up using two different versions. Sometimes when you are require the sophisticated data, then they are going to push you to the on-prem version. They might be able to enable some of the links, but that could be a very patchy experience in general. And users report that they don't like that because nowadays with CRM, the expectation is that they need very cloud native centric experience. The enterprise search is probably the implied expectation with most systems. So that is where you are probably going to run into the challenges. So that's number 9. Number 8 on our list is Mindful or Bloomerang. And this is designed for the smaller not-for-profit. So this is going to be a very similar system as your Neon CRM, but this is slightly bigger, in size. The vendor is more proven. They have a lot more installations in general. So the strengths that you're looking at from the Kindful and Bloomerang, and these two are two completely different products. Bloomerang, they acquired the Kindful product, and now they are selling as part of the same suite. So this is a very similar strategy as your Blackboard, that they are trying to combine many different products for many different market segments. So the strengths that you're looking at for both of these products is the move management, the donor cultivation, as well as ease of use. Sometimes these workflows are going to be tailored to how you are used to seeing. So it will appear as if they are easy to use. So those are going to be some of the strengths. The limitations that you are looking at are going to be the grant tracking. The layers might not be as detailed in general. Some of the users have reported issues with the grant tracking, so make sure you pay attention to that during your demo. And in general, let's say if you don't have those capabilities, enabling those might be a challenge on any of the prescriptive systems. So that's probably going to be a limitation. The other limitation that you have is, in general, these smaller systems are not going to have the data integrity, because what they are trying to do is they are trying to decouple these data layers so they are easier to use. So the compromise that you are going to get there is going to be your data integrity, but because they have bypassed all of those underlying data rules that need to be enabled at the data layer level. So you are allowed to do whatever you want, but then you are going to have a lot of data integrity issues, such as your duplicate contacts, duplicate companies, etc., that you can resolve manually, because again, these constraints are not enforced from the database perspective. If you had those enforced, for example, let's say if you look at systems from Microsoft, they are going to have a lot more constraints enabled from the database perspective, and that's where you're going to feel that they are not easy to use, because with every single manipulation that you are going to do, you are probably going to require a developer or consultant to be able to do that, because you are going to run into all of those data base issues that you might not like. So that's where this is more of a design choice. So in this particular case, it is going to be easier to use, but then you are going to run into data integrity issues. So you need to create those manual processes to be able to clean your data. If you don't do that, then you might have issues overall from your reporting perspective, from your data perspective, from your data maintenance perspective. The other limitations that you're looking at from the Kindful or Bloomerang perspective is not meant for the education not-for-profit. So even inside the not-for-profit industry, each of those micro verticals are going to require very, very different capabilities. So for example, teacher workflows or your student alumni relationship workflows, And those are very different workflows compared to what you are going to find with these systems. They are designed more for fundraising capabilities, etc. And now there is one new trend that we are noticing in the not-for-profit space, that they are following very similar model as your Shopify, where they are charging the consumption-based fee, which is going to be your percentage fee per donation. And even though it might sound very compelling overall from the sales positioning perspective, but in general, you might end up paying a lot. That could be a substantial percentage that you are paying. These numbers add up. So make sure you do a little cost analysis. And if you don't know how to do that, hire a consultant who might be able to do that for you. But that could be a huge con for systems such as these. And then they are also pushing their own payments platform. And sometimes that could be a huge challenge as well. Again, this is a very similar strategy as your Shopify, where you are dependent upon the payments platform. In general, the reason why they are doing that is because they are making money from these payments platform. They are making a cut out of that. That's why they are pushing the payments platform. They want to make sure that all of those payment transactions are flowing through their own payments platform provider. And then you are not going to have as much leverage in general in negotiating the rate from the credit card perspective. So that's a huge con that these companies are following nowadays. So that is something to keep in mind. And that's number 8. Number 7 on our list is Virtuous. And Virtuous is a very similar prescriptive system as your Neon CRM or Bloomerang Kindful, designed for a smaller not-for-profit, very prescriptive in general from their approach. So you are going to have very similar, strengths and limitations that you are going to find with some of the other prescriptive CRMs that we have discussed. So here, the strengths that you're looking at is the best of breed capabilities for not-for-profit, those fundraising, volunteer capabilities, all of those are probably going to be there with your Virtuous platform. They're also going to have slightly more automation journeys, which are fairly compelling. But again, the data layers are not going to be as detailed, even though they might have some journeys. So you are going to get very similar experience as your HubSpot, but again, those might not be as detailed. They also have the integrated payment processing. So if you're looking for that, but again, pay attention to which vendor they are using and whether you have leverage in terms of negotiating those rates or not. When you use any of the third-party payment provider, then you're going to have a little bit of leverage. When you're using their payment, they are probably going to make a cut, and you might not have as much leverage generally there. So that could be a huge, but at least you have the integrated payment processing so that you don't have to invest in your implementation, consulting, etc. The other limitation that we have is the higher price point compared to the smaller CRM, such as your Neon. Email templates not as user friendly. So again, you are going to find limitations there, even though they might have some capabilities, but they might not be as detailed. Once you start using them, then you are going to run into a lot of issues, and reporting is not going to be as intuitive either. So that's going to be another limitation, and that's number 7. Number 6 on our list is Oracle CX Cloud. Oracle CX Cloud is great for not-for-profit looking for a scalable solution. This is going to be a very enterprise-centric solution. So you are not going to find all of those not-for-profit layers that you are going to find with the prescriptive system. But let's say if your model is very scalable and you require those scalable capabilities, you have many different business models that you are trying to accommodate as part of your not-for-profit. Sometimes we have seen not-for-profit as complex as they might have a healthcare facility, they might have a real estate business model, they might have construction business model, they may have the real not-for-profit business model, education business model. All of them may be combined as part of the same business model, and they are going to have very different customer personas. They are going to have very different customer journeys. So if you have all of those use cases, that's where your enterprise-centric system, the slightly more technical systems, are going to be handier because they will be able to enable all of those, even though the consulting budget will increase for you. So if you're a very large not-for-profit where you are looking for very scalable, customizable solution where you are not limited with the implementation budget, then your Oracle CX Cloud could be a great fit. The strengths that you're looking at from the Oracle CX Cloud perspective is that they are going to have the integrated HCM. So if your HCM processes are intertwined aligned with your CRM processes, then you probably would require that. Then you also have the integrated CPQ, etc. workflows that are incorporated as part of that. So if you have very complex coding process, in general, the not-for-profit companies are probably not going to have that. But let's say if you have the coding process, even for your grants, if you have very complex variables that you use to be able to compute the donation that you are seeking or the proposal that you are making, you will be able to enable all of those capabilities as part of the model. And it is going to be customizable for many different business models. Now, the limitations that you're looking at from the Oracle CX Cloud perspective is expensive consulting to enable the not-for-profit specific workflows, and then you are going to have substantial steep learning curve because again, this is a very enterprise-grade systems. The kind of layers it is going to have, you are not going to find with the smaller systems. But again, this is designed for slightly larger not-for-profit companies and not necessarily meant for SMB companies. If you buy that, then you probably will not like that. You will run into implementation challenges. So that's number 6. Number 5 on our list is Lead Squared. And Lead Squared is a very prescriptive system for very specific industries. So if you are going to have a pure play business model, for example, in your public sector, education spaces, then Lead Squared could be a great fit because you are going to get all of that last mile functionality pre-baked, pre-built as part of your the system, as well as all of these capabilities are well proven, well tested in very similar industries. But again, once you outgrow that business model, if you are going to have other layers that you are going to require other than what they are really good at, that's where you are going to run into issues. You might outgrow Lead Squared. So the strengths that you're looking at, from the Lead Squared perspective is, even though it's very prescriptive, it's slightly more customizable because they are proven in those enterprise workloads, enterprise use cases, so you can customize that. But again, the customizability is not going to be as much as what you're going to find with the other systems. For example, let's say if you look at Oracle CX Cloud or Salesforce, they are going to be slightly more customizable in general. Well adopted among the large public sector as well as educational companies. They have a lot of logos. They are very well proven, very well adopted. So that's a huge validation point that if you are going to be very similar institute with very similar business processes, then there is a possibility that it might be a great fit. And then you also have the student cloud. So let's say if you're going to be as part of among the educational institutes, you are going to have very sophisticated student information management workflows, and they need to be highly intertwined with your CRM workflows. So Lead Squared is going to be a great fit for that. The limitations that you're looking at is overall the security layers are going to be limited. So again, it is not designed for those enterprise workflows. So again, dig into those and figure out if those security layers are going to be sufficient for your organization, the kind of layers that you are going to require in enabling the information for each of those user personas that your CRM is going to be touching. And then the portal stability, some users have reported that and not as well adopted as a mainstream CRM. They are very industry specific CRM. So that could be a limitation for that. And that's number 5. Number 4 on our list is HubSpot CRM. And this is going to be great for not-for-profits looking for very heavy CMS or for upstream marketing workflows. So in general, the strength of HubSpot CRM is going to be that the CMS is built as part of your for omni-channel tracking. So if CMS is going to be a great factor, marketing automation is going to be a great factor, then your HubSpot CRM could be a great fit. But in general, the majority of the not-for-profit, they require very complex object hierarchy, the object structure, and in general HubSpot is slightly on a weaker side there. So if you are using this only for marketing automation alongside some of the other CRM systems, for example Salesforce or Microsoft, then it could be a great fit. But it might struggle with the not-for-profit implementation when you are going to enable all of those not-for-profit workflows. They are far more complex than what HubSpot might be able to handle. The other strength that you are looking at from the HubSpot CRM perspective is ecosystem and integration, and the technology is very cloud native. So that's a huge strength for HubSpot. The limitations that you're going to look at from HubSpot perspective is the custom objects are very limited. The kind of triggers that you're going to have are going to be fairly limited as well. And again, for not-for-profit use cases, you require far more detailed capabilities, and that's where you're going to run into limitations. And even the core objects are fairly limited in terms of their customizability as well. So that's a huge limitation with HubSpot, and that's number 4. Number 3 on our list is Zoho CRM, and Zoho CRM is slightly better fit for the transactional use cases. For the operational use cases, they might not have as deep upstream marketing automation capabilities that you're going to find with HubSpot CRM. They might not have as a strong CMS component built as part of their portfolio either. But for not-for-profit in general, Zoho CRM is a superior fit because of those operational capabilities as well as the transactional capabilities that the majority of the not-for-profit are going to require. So here, the strengths with the Zoho CRM perspective is that you are looking at detailed triggers on the custom objects and price for Zoho One. As part of the Zoho One plan, you are going to get all of those apps, and they are going to have just one price point for that. So in general, that is going to be easier for not-for-profit to be able to compute the price. But sometimes you might wonder that you are paying one price, but you might not be using all of those apps. But if you look at the price point, whatever you are paying for, let's say HubSpot or Salesforce, you are getting a lot more in general with Zoho CRM perspective. So that's a huge plus. And for not-for-profit, you are going to require a lot of those apps. For example, let's say you have the CRM, you will require that. You will require the case management. You will require events. You will require the project management capabilities for some of those use cases. And then you are also going to require the custom component as well. So that's where Zoho CRM is a great fit. And it's a huge plus that it is part of the same pricing bundle with Zoho CRM. And then you are looking at very customizable layout as well as screens. And for the most part, the not-for-profit segment has need for that, especially if you're going to be very sophisticated. For example, let's say if you look at for those scenarios such as your grant tracking or fund tracking, in general, even Zoho CRM is not going to be as strong with all of those capabilities because they get very complex. So, but you might be able to enable all of those from your project wrapper perspective. And in general, you can create custom objects that might help you enable all of those. So Zoho CRM again is a great fit for slightly more smaller or mid-size not-for-profit organizations. But again, you are looking at substantial consulting budget to be able to enable all of those capabilities because they are not going to be pre-enabled as part of your CRM. So make sure you have the implementation change management budget with your Zoho CRM. But the kind of flexibility that you are going to get with Zoho CRM, at least you will not run into implementation issues where you are not able to use the product with some of those prescriptive CRMs. The other limitations that you are looking at from the Zoho CRM perspective is the data model is completely separate for each of the app, as well as the kind of the way their data centers are organized. So for each of the countries, they are going to have their independent data centers. So you're not going to have much of the communication between those data centers. So if you are looking to consolidate global footprint, for example, let's say if you're a very global not-for-profit and you are looking to tie in all of those global instances of your entities in many different countries, that's where Zoho CRM may not be the best fit. So that's a limitation. Then you have other limitations. For example, CMS may not be as robust as HubSpot. They are not going to be as proven, as well known, as open with some of these ecosystems. So you might not find as many integrations, as many apps in a Zoho CRM. But whatever you need, that's also available inside your Zoho portfolio. So that could be a plus. But again, if you're looking for slightly more best of breed experience, that could be a limitation. So that's number 3. Now, number 2 on our list is Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE. And this is great for companies seeking highly customizable CRM. In general, not for profit, regardless of the market verticals, they are going to require very heavy customizable CRM because the kind of business models that they have, it's very complex. We don't see the same complexity in any other industry verticals. So in general, you require that. The strengths that you're looking at from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE perspective is you have the Power Platform. The data model is designed for very complex operational use cases. You have the ecosystem where you have some of the apps, such as your Mission CRM, that is built on top of your Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE. So it is going to provide that prescriptive experience that you are looking for on top of the Microsoft platform. So you can do both, where you can enable the other business models on the core platform, and then in conjunction you can use Mission CRM. But keep in mind, when you have this experience, then your data is still going to be siloed, because Mission CRM is sort of hijacking the state, and they are controlling some of the workflows. So when you are going to look for the embedded experience between all of those business models, when you are trying to co-host all of them as part of your Microsoft platform, there could be challenges when you are using these add-ons. So that's where you need to do a lot more thinking and planning in terms of what kind of experience you are looking for and whether you are going to get as part of this solution or not. But in general, the Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE is going to have a lot more options that you can play around to be able to get these capabilities. The other limitation that you're looking at from the Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE perspective is the upstream marketing capabilities, upstream marketing integration, as well as the consulting cost. So these are going to be some of the limitations for Microsoft Dynamics 365 CE, and that's number 2. Number 1 on our list is Salesforce. And this is going to be ideal for large not-for-profit seeking enterprise-grade CRM suite. In general, Salesforce is proven with very complex not-for-profit, but again, you would require a lot more consulting budget, because you have to use a lot of best-of-breed components, and to be able to enable all of those not-for-profit workflows, even though you might get the not-for-profit service pack, but that might not be sufficient for your use cases. And if you need to extend that, that might not be as easy to be able to extend. So again, if you can utilize that service pack as is, then it might be easier. But in general, that may not be the case with every single not-for-profit, and that's where you need to do a lot of planning and hire some of the experts who can do that for you before signing the contract. For example, any of the independent CRM ERP consultants. In general, with not-for-profit CRMs, you are going to have highly intertwined capabilities. For example, when you look at those fund traceability, grant traceability, all of those capabilities require very deep capabilities from the data model perspective. They require a little bit of ERP experience in the CRM workflows, because that gets very, 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 very complex in general. But in general, Salesforce has been used with a lot of different not-for-profits, many different business models. They have many different service packs that might be able to live together. But again, you need to vet whether they are going to work for your business requirements, your use cases, as well as workflows. So the other strengths that you're looking at from the Salesforce perspective is, pre-populated industry templates. It's going to be highly customizable, enterprise territory planning, as well as sales comp. All of those options are going to be there. The limitations that you're looking at is that the marketing automation product is not as embedded. The integration is very light overall from the marketing automation perspective. The website integration, even though they are going to have a lot of CMS players that are operating in a Salesforce ecosystem, because they are taking slightly more platform-centric approach, where you can utilize whichever platforms as you like, but that increases the project budget, the implementation budget, the integration budget. So that's where you need to hire the experts who might be able to enable this for you if there is going to be a need. And then you are looking at very expensive consulting cost, and the website integration would require additional add-on, and the experience might not be as immersive as you are going to find with other systems such as your HubSpot. So that's number 1. If you enjoyed this video, we are going to include an article that is going to have much deeper insights, so you might want to check that. We publish our digital transformation report every year, so if you have not checked, we include all of these lists as part of that, so you might want to do that. We publish these videos on a weekly basis, so you might want to subscribe on YouTube if you don't want to miss them. This podcast is also available in the audio form on the major podcasting platforms, so you might want to head there and subscribe. On that note, thank you so much for tuning in. I'll see you in the next one.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the WBS Podcast. Be sure to subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform so you never miss an episode. For more information on growth strategies for SMBs using ERP and digital transformation, check out our community at WBS.rocks. We'll see you next time.